Well, for one, it has been around since 1855. While it hasn't been until recently that data breaches have occurred, they still had to protect the university's information, even if it wasn't as big of a priority back then. Now, lately, Penn State is under extreme scrutiny for the recent data breaches it has suffered. Most recently, on January 25th of this year, 667 social security numbers were stolen off a laptop that a current faculty member had under their possession. More importantly, back in 2007, over 10,000 social security numbers of United States Marines were compromised. Now, you may think that is because a laptop was stolen or somehow the data was compromised, but you would be surprised to learn that this information was retrieved through a simple Google search. With these data breaches, Penn State is fighting not to tarnish its reputation and prevent having to pay major fines in the future. This is why Ipas is emerging and why changes are being made.
The biggest vulnerability to Ipas is updates that need to be done to the system used by employees of Penn State. Without system administrator privileges, the employees is not able to make critical updates to the operating system and runs the risk of their system being compromised. Instead, they must wait for a system administrator to come and update their computer. Depending on the size of the department and how many system administrators there are, it could be days before the computer is updated. The scanning and disk encryption software will be housed on a central server for the entire university. If this server is compromised, this could affect the files on the individual users' computers. The attacker can modify pattern definitions and receive information about location of sensitive data and even possibly student information and/or classified files.
The alternative policies to Ipas at this point are very few, actually. While Ipas is currently underway, we know that people close to the initiative are actually already considering future policies. As of now, Ipas is the best fit for Penn State, considering its massive vastness in terms of its campuses and faculty alone. Ipas currently offers full disk encryption for Penn State-owned laptops to ensure that sensitive data remains in the rightful owner's hands. In addition, Ipas also will have scanning software to ensure that no sensitive personal information will leave the proper owners. As I said, there is vastness in the Penn State community. Over 23,000 computers are owned by Penn State alone. Right now, the frontrunner for an alternative would be a situation called virtualization. The screening process would be different in the sense that it would include all traffic to and from your computer, and it would be gathered in a centralized location to be scanned. While this alternative is a bit extreme, it is definitely a possibility for the near future. One of the reasons Ipas was needed in the first place was due to the lack of security regarding sensitive information, personal and otherwise. The original security plan of Penn State needed to be changed after a few incidents involving information leaks. Some faculty do not even know that there is sensitive information on their computers, which can lead to major security issues if those computers are lost or stolen. It has become rather apparent that the threat paradigm has shifted from individuals looking for floating information to larger threats like organized crime. Now that the university is moving towards full disk encryption and scanning tools, they have certainly taken a more pro-action approach. They are taking strides now to ensure security instead of reacting to an incident after valuable information was already compromised.
The one law that is a direct result of why Ipas is created is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. This law dictates how student records are to be stored and who is allowed to view the data. Included in school records are identifying information such as your social security numbers, phone numbers, addresses, where we live, which will include home or school addresses. It can include student ID numbers and other information. If this information were to get out, like our social security numbers, it would be easy for a person to grab that information off the internet and steal our identity, or they could obtain student ID numbers and get our user ID and password and be able to access Angel and webmail. If this were to happen, students could sue Penn State for accidentally releasing personal information, and Penn State would either have to pay money to defend themselves or pay money out to the students if they were to lose. This would also put a damper on their reputation as a college. New students may not even want to apply to Penn State if Penn State accidentally releases student information. These students may feel that Penn State does not have adequate measures in place to make sure these accidental leakages of information will not happen again. Well, we're going to have scanning, but they're not going to be scanning every day in real time. We're only going to have scanning maybe once every 6 months, and no one's actually going to be watching the scanning as it's going on. Scanning was only going to be strings of 9-digit numbers or 16-digit numbers. And they also won't be checking for your web browsing history, what you've been doing, and they will not be looking for specific files that are labeled with identifying information.
Actually, 2 incidents have occurred in the past year and a half, which a lot of people know about. One of those would be the release of Marine Social Security numbers on the internet, and another one of those would be a stolen laptop, which happened in January. The best way to mollify those who feel IPAS is an unwanted hassle is to simply give the people a better understanding of how the IPAS process works. Scans will not take place in real time, so slowdowns on computers are unlikely. Also, the standard university computer has enough processor speed and RAM to handle encryption with minimal hassle. According to one of the professors we interviewed, IPAS is going to become optional due to heavy faculty resistance.
One of the biggest risks with IPAS would have to be the users. They are the ones that are going to be using machines, and if they're not trained properly with the IPAS and how all the new security procedures that they're going to need, they could be a huge risk to compromising data. Since most of the administrative privileges are going to be removed, the users are going to have to either get those privileges added, or they're going to try and find other ways which could compromise the machines and end up hurting and turning back some of the advances they're trying to make with IPAS and the security. To manage this initiative, the university set up a bunch of policies they want each college to implement for IPAS. They haven't really set up the actual implementation part. They just set up the policies, so that is set up to the IT people at each college. So the implementation is kind of just out there and left for the IT people.
Professors and staff who have sensitive data on their computers have the necessary clearance to have this data. IST systems are well maintained, and to our knowledge, there is no incidence of personal data leaks in a very long time. Based on our conclusions, we feel IPAS is not necessary for the College of IT and should be optional.